Welcome back, everybody. Today we're doing a deep dive into the world of Jack the Rapper, a name that maybe some of you might not know right off the bat, but when we talk about his influence on black music, particularly hip-hop, it's undeniable.
Absolutely. And to get into it, we've got a really interesting mix of biographical info about Jack the Rapper himself and a bunch of articles about this really legendary convention he put together. It was called the Jack the Rapper Family Affair.
Okay, so we've got Jack the Rapper, we've got the family affair. What exactly are we trying to learn in this deep dive?
Well, I think the big question here is what was Jack the Rapper's legacy? How did his vision for black music evolve over time? And how did all of these different forces, cultural trends, industry dynamics, the rise of hip hop, how did all that come together to shape this iconic convention?
It sounds like we've got a lot of ground to cover. So before we get to that family affair, maybe we should take a step back and answer the most basic question. Who was Jack the Rapper?
Yeah, good point. So, Jack the Rapper, his real name was Jack Gibson, and he started his career in a way you might not expect. He was a voice actor for radio dramas.
Radio dramas, like those old-timey shows.
Exactly. Back in Chicago.
It doesn't sound like the most obvious path to becoming, like, the godfather of hip-hop.
It's true. But even back then, he had this charisma, this presence that just drew people in. And that led him to become a DJ. He actually called himself Jockey Jack at first. He even wore jockey silks on air. Can you believe that?
Oh, wow, that's amazing. So how did we go from Jockey Jack to Jack the Rapper?
So he started playing R&B hits and incorporating street slang and humor into his broadcasts, this totally unique style that really resonated with his audience. And this evolution kind of solidified when he moved to Atlanta and helped found Weird Am in 1949.
Weird Am.
It was a huge deal. It was the first black-owned radio station in the entire U.S.
Wow. Hold on. The first black-owned station in the whole country? That's a
Yeah.
big deal.
It really was. And it was more than just a station. It was like a voice for the black community at a time when they were largely shut out of mainstream media.
You're right. That's huge.
Oh, absolutely. When Weed launched, Jack the Rapper's announcement was, "We are here. We are here." I mean, talk about a powerful statement.
Oh, yeah. You can just feel the energy and the hope in those words, like a sense that things were finally starting to change.
Yeah, for sure. And that was really just the beginning for Jack the Rapper. He didn't just break barriers on the airwaves. He was a real advocate for black representation in the whole industry.
So he was like an activist.
Absolutely. He was a driving force behind organizations like NETRA, which fought for black DJs to have a seat at the table.
Okay, so we've got Jack the Rapper, the radio pioneer, the champion for representation, the voice. Was there also a connection to the civil rights movement?
This is where things get really fascinating. So, Weird Studios were located in the same building as the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, right above Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s office.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Right above Dr. King's office.
Yeah.
Talk about being at the heart of history.
I know, right? It was a time of massive change, and Jack the Rapper used his platform to amplify Dr. King's message. There's this incredible anecdote about him literally dropping a microphone from a window so Dr. King could address crowds during marches.
Wow. That sends chills down my spine, you know?
Yeah.
Music and activism coming together like that.
Yeah, exactly. Black radio was this lifeline for communication and honestly for mobilization during that era. Even Dr. King himself acknowledged it, thanking black DJs for building a powerful cultural bridge between black and white youth.
So I've got Jack the Rapper, this radio pioneer, advocate, champion for change. Where does the Family Affair Convention fit into all of this?
Well, it actually evolved from his industry newsletter, telling it like it TISs. He used it to speak truth to power and highlight all this incredible talent within the black music community.
So he was already building community and creating a platform through his writing. Did the convention, naturally grow out of that?
Pretty much. The first Jack the Rapper Family Affair was held in Atlanta in 1977. It was designed to be a space to celebrate and promote black music across all genres. It was a total contrast to those other industry events that often sidelined black artists.
He was creating a space where black artists could connect on their own terms. It sounds like inclusivity was at the heart of his vision right from the start.
That's exactly it. The early Family Affair events were incredibly diverse. You had established stars, up-and-coming artists, all different genres, R&B, soul, even early hip-hop, which was pretty forward-thinking at the time.
Yeah, he had the foresight to see the potential of hip-hop before it really blew up. It's amazing how he seemed to be ahead of the curve at every step.
Totally. And his vision would lead the Family Affair to become something truly spectacular. But that's a story for our next segment. All right, so we've got the Family Affair right. born from this desire to create an inclusive space for Black music. And it starts to gain some real traction. We're not just talking about like a bigger guest list or anything. It completely transforms.
You're saying it became the event in Black music.
Yeah, exactly. To think Atlanta, late 80s, early 90s, hotels are totally booked. The streets are buzzing with energy. You can just feel this excitement as thousands of people are flocking to the family affair. It wasn't just like an industry thing anymore. It was a full-on cultural phenomenon.
I'm picturing it now like this whirlwind of artists and producers and music executives all descending on Atlanta. What was it about the family affair that made it stand out from other events?
Well, for one, the sheer diversity of talent that was there. I mean, you had established superstars like Prince giving these electrifying performances. Mariah Carey was making appearances, Luther Vandross gracing the stage with his vocals.
So it was this melting pot of talent, showcasing the full spectrum of Black music. You mentioned New Kids on the Block performed too, though. That doesn't really seem to fit in.
See, that's what made the family affair so unique. It went beyond genre, you know. It was about demonstrating the influence of Black music on the whole music scene. Remember, this was Jack the Rapper's vision. Inclusivity, celebrating Black music in all its forms.
It's a powerful message, especially in a time when mainstream media was overlooking Black artists so often. So it was a celebration, but was it also a launch pad for new artists?
Oh, absolutely. This was the place to get discovered. MC Hammer, TLC, Criss Cross, they all reportedly got their big break at the family affair. It wasn't just about meeting famous people, it was about opportunity.
So you have these aspiring artists, a chance to show off what they can do, network with big names, potentially land a deal that could change their lives. It must have been electric.
There were also these amazing unscripted moments that really added to the legend of the family affair. Picture this. MC Hammer, at the peak of his fame, challenging Michael Jackson to a dance-off.
Wait, hold on, seriously. MC Hammer wanted to dance battle the King of Pop?
Well, Jackson wasn't actually there, but just the idea of it, the challenge itself, created a huge buzz. It speaks to the excitement, that sense of possibility that surrounded the family affair. This was the place to be for anyone who was anyone in Black music.
So we've got Jack the Rapper, from radio plays to these legendary conventions. It's a story full of unexpected turns. But I'm sensing a but coming.
You're picking up on it. While all of this was going on, the family affair was thriving. There was a seismic shift happening in music, the rise of hip-hop. And that shift had a profound impact on the convention, for better and for worse.
Earlier, we were talking about how inclusive Jack the Rapper was, how the family affair embraced so many different genres. Was the rise of hip-hop like a challenge to that vision?
In a way, yes. As hip-hop became more popular, it started to reshape the whole dynamic of the family affair.
Yeah.
It attracted a new generation of attendees and performers, and it brought this edgier, more raw energy to the event.
I'm imagining this clash of cultures, this event that started as a celebration of Black music as a whole. Now it was contending with this explosive new genre.
You got it. And it wasn't just about musical styles either. The whole atmosphere of the convention began to change. Less industry networking, more partying.
Partying. So the family affair was evolving alongside hip-hop. But it sounds like that wasn't always a smooth process. What were some of the downsides?
Well, that shift towards a more party-heavy vibe, it came with its own challenges. This is also a time when hip-hop was grappling with issues of violence and gang culture, and unfortunately, those issues started to make their way into the family affair.
So the inclusivity that made the event so special was starting to become a problem. What kind of impact did this have?
Well, it's complicated, and it ultimately leads to the downfall of the Jack the Rapper family affair. But that is a story for our final segment.
Last time we were talking about the family affair and how it was kind of changing with the rise of hip-hop. It sounded like that brought some serious problems.
Yeah, it definitely did. Remember how we talked about that shift in atmosphere, that move toward more of a party scene? Well, unfortunately, along with that came this escalation of violence and security issues.
So now it's a darker story,
Yeah.
right? We're not just talking about this exciting event anymore. We're talking about actual danger.
Exactly. By the early 90s, the family affair was dealing with fights breaking out, clashes between rival groups, just this overall feeling of unease that really took away from the good stuff.
It's sad that the same energy that made it so special was also threatening to ruin it.
Yeah.
Were there any specific incidents that really stand out?
The 1993 event was a big turning point. There were tons of altercations, reports of full-on battles between rivals. They even had to call in the police.
The police?
Yeah, security was overwhelmed. They had to bring in the drug and gang division, even mounted patrol to try and get things under control.
Mounted patrol at a music industry event. That's a pretty crazy image.
It really shows how much things had changed, you know. The family affair was attracting a different crowd now, and some of them weren't there for the music or the networking.
It's like the convention was becoming a reflection of those problems within hip-hop itself.
Yeah,
That rivalry between the East Coast and the West Coast.
that's exactly it. And the whole emphasis on, like, gangster imagery and street cred.
That rivalry was huge back then, right? Fueled by the media and personal beefs between artists and labels. What started as creative competition turned into real-life violence.
Absolutely. And the family affair got caught right in the middle.
That's rough.
The media latched onto the violence. There were reports of record executives feeling unsafe. Sponsors started pulling out. It really hurt the convention's reputation.
It's heartbreaking, you know? Jack the Rapper's vision, this celebration of black music and unity, getting overshadowed by all this negativity. Did he try to fix it?
He did, yeah. The next year, he moved the convention to Orlando, hoping that a change of scenery might help.
New location, fresh start.
It seemed like a good idea.
Did it work?
Not really. The problems followed them. The violence continued. Sponsors kept backing out. The LA Times even published an article questioning if record execs would even bother showing up anymore.
So even with the move, the family affair couldn't escape those problems. It sounds like it was losing its identity.
Yeah, you could say that. And in 1996, after one last try to bring it back, the Jack the Rapper family affair officially came to an end.
It's a sad ending to such a groundbreaking event.
It is. But as we're, looking back at the family affair, it's important to remember both the good and the bad.
That's true.
We can't forget the impact it had for almost 2 decades. So many artists got their start there, so many connections were made, and black music was celebrated on this huge scale.
And through it all, Jack the Rapper stuck to his vision of inclusivity. Makes you wonder, though, if maybe that vision needed to evolve as hip-hop was changing. Like, what if he'd found a way to manage those shifting cultural dynamics?
It's definitely a question worth thinking about. But even though the family affair ended the way it did, Jack the Rapper's legacy lives on. He was a true pioneer, a champion for black music, a voice for social change during such a crucial time.
We started this deep dive talking about how his fingerprints are all over the music industry.
Yeah.
And now I really get it.
He created a space where black voices could be heard, where talent could grow, and where a community could come together. That's a legacy worth celebrating.
It is. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you all with this thought. How do cultural events like the family affair both reflect and shape how music and social trends evolve? And how can we, as fans and participants, make sure that inclusivity doesn't come at the cost of safety and security? It's something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Jack the Rapper. Until next time, keep exploring and keep the musics playing.